What's going on, YouTube? Back in the garage again. In this video we're actually going to be finishing up the motor for the Honda Grom and putting it in. Crossing my fingers that it starts and everything worked out perfectly fine and I didn't mess anything up. I never rebuilt the Honda Grom motor before. It was overall, so far, it was pretty easy. The only thing that I was really questioning myself on was the actual transmission, how the forks were interchanging. I'm like 98% sure that I have it correct. I hope I do, because if not, I had to take the whole thing back out of the Grom and tear the whole thing back apart to figure it out. So hopefully I have it all correct. So yeah, this is part 4. If you find this build series helpful or what I'm doing in this video helpful, please like and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. Gives me more motivation to make more videos. I said in the last video I will not be doing any how-to videos for a little bit. I'm going to be taking a break from them. It's a pain in the butt to edit and sometimes explaining things makes things complicated for me, or it just makes the whole process a lot longer, and I don't want to say the wrong thing when in my head I know the right way and I said the wrong thing. I'm sure other people can relate when trying to explain on doing a how-to video. But anyway, my next step, I don't have much yet to do to the Grom motor. I have to put the clutch assembly together, put the clutch in, and an oil spinner, and I think that's pretty much it, besides put the side cover on. Other than that, it's ready to pretty much go back into the Grom. So yeah, let's just jump right into it and get this thing in. Hopefully it starts up with no problems. Where I left off from the last video was I got to put the clutch basket in and put the oil spinner on, then this cover. I'm actually upgrading the clutch basket. I'm upgrading it to a 6-hole bottom clutch. I guess will be a basket of pressure plate. It's a 6-hole pressure plate. All 6 holes have threads. I got this from Straight Up Pumps, and I also, this just came in the mail, a billet aluminum 6-hole clutch pressure plate, or spring pressure plate. I'm also going to be installing these Kitco, I believe they're 60% clutch springs. I was originally running EBC clutch springs inside this with upgraded Koso clutch spring plate, but the EBC springs are just junk. I don't recommend those EBC springs to anybody. They just did not work good at all. But anyway, I'm going to disassemble this clutch. The clutch disc and everything in this clutch basket here, they're all brand new, so I'll be reusing them. Of course, I'm going to look them over. They're already soaked in oil. I don't need to soak them again, but normally you would soak your brand new clutch, or you would soak your brand new clutch before you put it in, soak it in oil. But I'm going to disassemble this and start putting together the new clutch setup. Now I'm going to put the 210s in the oil tray for the clutch here. Again, you don't want to go crazy tight with them. You just want to just snug them up. Last thing you want to do is crack the casing for your motor, then you're just completely screwed, or snap the nut off inside the casing. Okay, now I can put the nut, the washer, the thicker washer, and the nut inside the spindle for the clutch. Okay, in order to torque this center nut down to 47 foot-pounds, they make like a plastic locking gear that locks the gear for the oil spinner and the gear for your clutch. It locks it together, and you can torque it down to 47 foot-pounds. You can do that, or you can just do what I did and just take a penny, put it in the gear flat like that. Just be careful that you're not gnarring or chipping any gears, and the copper is soft enough that you're not going to damage anything. And just torque it down to 47 foot-pounds and you're good to go. As long as it locks it into place, it works. Just did it and no problems. So yeah, that's torqued down to 47 foot-pounds. Now I can put my oil spinner on itself. Before you put it on, obviously you want to clean it. I just take some brake cleaner, spray the inside, like inside of here. Just take a paper towel, wipe it out, and it's good to go. And just make sure there's no debris in it. Then, obviously, same towel, let's wipe the inner part of the cap for it. Wipe that off. Both sides. Actually, wipe both sides off. Now the gasket for this, this is a original one. I'm going to just reuse it, just because the kit I got, I don't really like the one it came with. It looks like this. Kind of looks kind of cheesy. I don't know. I don't want to use it, so I'm just going to reuse this one. I always reuse these, and I'm sure I should probably replace it soon, but it still works perfectly fine. On the OEM genuine Honda ones, there's like a rib, a line rib. You want the rib of that facing down on the oil spinner itself. But before you do that, you want to take your oil spinner, slide it onto your splines. Okay. And now there's going to be another thick washer and another locking nut. Goes on. Alright, it looks like the oil spinner lock nut is also 47 foot-pounds. So both of these are 47 foot-pounds. Alright, I guess recording got screwed up there a little bit, but next step, yeah, I put the clutch on the oil spinner. Both are torqued down to 47 foot-pounds. Each number 10 here gets torqued down to 9 foot-pounds, but I don't recommend using a torque wrench. Just snug them up by hand. Now I put the new gasket on here. I lined it up using the alignment pins here. Next is take your side cover here, and make sure it's clean inside. And another thing, there's a plunger for your clutch. Make sure that's pushed all the way in. Once that is all the way in, and it basically almost like locks itself into place. Once you get to that point, you can put your cover on. I want to rotate this up a little bit. And side cover. I just made sure the gasket is properly aligned all the way around, and then just give it a little tap with your palm so it pops into it with the alignment pins. At this point, I'm going to take my number 10, or no, I need number 8 millimeter. Uh-oh, I gotta find my 8 millimeter. There it is. 8 millimeter, and I'm going to go around the cover with just the extension. I'm going to hand thread these bolts in. Okay, after you get them all snugged up by hand, take a 1/4 inch small ratchet, and again, there's a torque spec for these, but I'm not torquing them down to whatever the specification is. It's just going to be snug it up by hand. Just don't go too crazy with it. Let the gasket do its job. Alright, she's ready to go back in. Alright guys, when it comes down to putting the motor in a Grom, I'm just going to do a time lapse just because it's going to make the video a lot shorter and easier to edit. So if you're interested in how the motor would go back in, basically do the reverse of part 1, how I took it out. It's not that hard. It's mainly 3 bolts that are basically holding the motor in. Then you just tie up all the loose ends here and there and start plugging stuff in. But yeah, this is going to be a time lapse of putting the motor back in. Alright, so got the motor back in. It's only 3 bolts. It's real easy to do. The hardest part is getting that back one down here. As you can see in the time lapse, I had to give it a little persuasion and slide it past the rear set. Proper way would be removing the rear set completely, or removing your shifter so your rear set would be able to swing out of the way. But I was able to get around it, so not a big deal. Now I just have to tighten up those bolts and start plugging all the plugs in, starter, one or two vacuum lines, and she should be just about ready to start. Alright guys,
The motor's all back into the Grom. I got oil in it. The only thing I gotta get to do is I gotta tighten up the chain, put this side plastic on, and put a seat. I also need to get a new battery. So I robbed the battery from my Cafe Racer. It's not the correct battery, but it should work. It might actually be dead because I haven't ran that motorcycle in a while. So yeah, it's let's see if she starts. Hopefully. We got power. They're neutral. Okay, she's in neutral. Started. I don't know if there's gonna be enough juice. Alright, looks like the battery doesn't have enough juice. I'm gonna hook up a battery charger, put it on quick start just for quick, just to get it to fire over. Once I get the fire over, I'm gonna disconnect it. So right back. Alright, I got a battery charger on it. I have it on emergency start. It's not good to do this with motorcycles, but it's gonna be quick. So yeah, see if got enough juice now. That's a plus. A little bit of a noise. That'd be awesome. Wow. Check my valve clearance again. Sounds like it might be valves. That's not good. Alright, YouTube, so last clip it was running. It was a strange ticking noise. I thought maybe it was a valve or something. Boy, was I wrong. God, no. Well, better off just showing you what happened. Okay, YouTube, so I got some bad news and I got some good news. Start with the bad news. It's gonna be a little bit yet before I get this Grom up and running. I gotta order a new keyway.
for right here. Evidently what happened was I torqued this nut down to spec, what I thought was spec, and while I was running I heard a kind of like a ticking noise, kind of like a valve or something like that. Figured I'll let it run a little bit and try to diagnose it with just listening to the motor to find out where it was coming from. I revved it up a little bit, and all of a sudden what happened was this nut came loose and the whole stator moved this way, and in turn put a lot of stress right on the keyway at the end and sheared it off. And it just, I think that tells it also to like when to start or when to fire the spark plug, if I'm correct, and in turn it shut off. So then I saw that was loose. I tightened that back up, put the bike back in timing, hand rotated it, and I felt it start binding up. And I thought I trashed the head, but I didn't. So that's the good news. I didn't trash the head. Head still looks good. I rotated it. All the valves closed like they should. So that's good. So I got to order new jug gasket, new head gasket, a new keyway. And lesson learned, when putting that nut on the crank, don't just torque it down to spec. Just crank the shit out of it with the impact. If not, that's what's going to happen. I know I torqued that thing down to spec. Something must have not been right, and it just came loose. I don't understand why it still came loose, but it is what it is. Like I said, I torqued it, or I tightened it back up with the cover still on, rotated it until it was top dead center, reset the timing, and rotated it by hand, and I felt it binding up. So I took it back apart, and that's what I found. So it is what it is. Alright, YouTube, like I said, if I mess something up or something goes wrong, I'm not going to hide or sugarcoat it. You know, things happen. The Grom was making a ticking noise for the longest time. I bet that was the problem the whole time, was just that keyway was worn out and it wasn't sitting properly. So it just finally let loose. A new one's only like $3, so it is what it is. I didn't damage anything else besides shearing off that keyway. I had to take brake clean out the bottom end real good. Obviously use different oil, put a new keyway in, and put the head back on. I'm just glad I didn't destroy the head. But yeah, looks like this is gonna be turned into a part 5. Who would have thought? This is bullshit. Whatever. So yeah, if you find this entertaining or knowledgeable or helpful, please like and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. Lesson learned, I'm never going to torque that nut again down to spec. I'm just going to crank the shit out of it with the torque impact good and tight. Maybe even put a little bit of thread locker on it. I probably should have put a thread locker on it in the beginning. I have to read up on it. Maybe that's what happened, was I didn't put any thread locker on it. But shit happens, you know. Lesson learned. But overall, it sounded pretty good other than that one problem. It will be back up and running in part 5. So yeah, just stay tuned. Please like and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. Till next time, take it easy.